Every place where we come through, there was lots of trucks. Weyburn, there must have been 250 trucks waiting. In every town that we come in, there was more joining every time. I think everybody's sick of the government that's ruining us. Other than that, everybody's just here to try get rid of this carbon tax. Why doesn't the federal government do like our provincial government? I got 20% back on my solar system. Why doesn't the federal government also give us an incentive to put this in? Instead of giving money to other countries to stop carbon, why doesn't he give everybody in Canada a chance to do like I'm doing?
We have a lot of members that are going to be negatively impacted by a carbon tax in the province of Saskatchewan. A lot of our guys rely on fossil fuels, unfortunately, to build Saskatchewan's highways and transportation networks. So there's a lot at stake here in terms of jobs and competitive advantage or disadvantage in this case for our members. We're looking at well over $1 million in additional expenses for the industry that's unfortunately going to be, offloaded onto the taxpayers because the major procurer of our service is government, whether it's provincial, federal, or municipal. So ultimately, the taxpayers are going to be, facing a heavier burden because of this.
But we're going to make polluters pay and put money in your pockets.
There is an imperative to put a price on pollution, and if there are costs associated with for average families, we will more than compensate those families for those costs.
Well, how are they going to do that? They talk about this rebate as if you're going to get the money back, and then you're going to get a premium, so you're going to get even more money back. How do they calculate that, though? That was a part that was lost from the conversation.
We shall fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds.
Thank you for joining us. You are listening to A Radio, and this is The Morning Moment. We're on weekdays, 11:45 Eastern. Follow us on Spreaker.com and click on the like button. I came across this piece purely by accident. It wasn't on any official website. It's entitled Migration, Environment and Climate Change in the SDGs. That's the title. That's not the actual title of the page, though. No, what's more ominous sounding to me is the actual title, Environmental Migration Platform, with a subheading of Knowledge Platform on People on the Move in Climate Change. A strange title, wouldn't you think? But not when you see the images on the page. There is an image at the top of the page that leaves you in no doubt at all. That's if you ever had any doubts in the first place, that it's UN supported, if not funded, and it's certainly in favour of Agenda 2030. It's not a UN logo, it's those innocuous symbols that denote, showing various colours, what their goals are. That also I find scary, don't you? Because those are straight out of Agenda 2030. Now, I will put links to this website on my page. And by the way, SDGs stand for what I believe to be Sustainable Development Goals. Here's the piece. In September 2015, the UN General Assembly adopted 2030 Agenda. That's Agenda 2030, but they put it the other way around, for sustainable development. This milestone document outlines 17 goals and 169 related targets for the global community to strive to meet by the year 2030. That's where 2030 comes from. The agenda was the first of its kind, explicitly acknowledging the importance of factoring migration into the development strategies. This is a key advancement, given that the topic of migration was absent from the Millennium Document goals in 2000. Migration has been increasingly linked to development in recent years, especially in documents such as the New York Declaration adopted in 2016. I wonder who could have been behind that. And the Global Compact for Safe, Orderly Regulation Migration adopted in 2018. Don't remember hearing about that, do you? Approaches to the migration and development nexus have evolved throughout the last 2 decades within IOM. I'm going to leave IOM for later. And beyond, through global processes such as Global Forum on Migration and Development and the Mayoral Forum on Humanity Mobility, Migration and Development. Don't remember that being talked about. Migration's potential to inform and strengthen development frameworks is now widely recognised. However, to achieve the SDGs and ensure that they are carried out inclusively, migration must be acknowledged as a complex and multifaceted phenomenon that impacts all areas of governance. The IOM is already engaged in adopting an integrated approach to the topic of environmental migration. That's a very key phrase, ladies and gentlemen, very key indeed. Much work remains to be done in this emerging field. The 2030 Agenda and the SDGs represent a unique chance to develop these thematic links. Does anybody know what thematic means? I certainly don't. Thematic means of, relating to, or producing a theme or themes. So now you know. Further through the structure of a global framework, working towards SDGs will strengthen the connections between these fields, helping to transform, that's a key word, the complex challenges presented by migration and environment and development nexus into opportunities. That's code for unfettered migration into your country to change the way your country looks, the cultural, economic, and all aspects of your country, whichever country you're in. This is not by accident, ladies and gentlemen. The article continues and it quotes a number of SDGs, which I'm going to quote, and it's got all the Agenda 2030 little image logos against every piece. But I'm going to read them out to you so you understand where this is coming from. SDG 6 on clean water and sanitation is relevant when it comes to environmental migration because both climate change and migratory patterns have the capacity to significantly impact water resources. Ensuring that clean, sustainable water is accessible to all is essential in achieving IOM's mission of ensuring safe, orderly migration for all. And it says by clicking on the logo you can access more information. SDG 7, affordable and clean energy, is also deeply relevant to migration. Managing local energy development planning in tandem with migration policy helps to address the economic and environmental drivers of migration, facilitating environmentally sustainable socio-economic opportunities for migrants. Well, I'll leave you to decode all that, but my interpretation is that we're paying for them to build their own infrastructure. We're paying for that. And when it's built, they can just hop on a plane and ignore it and take over our countries. But, that's my interpretation. Then it jumps to SDG 13 on climate action has been addressed by IOM through its involvement in the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. You ever heard of such words? I've never heard that. That's the acronym for that is UNFCCC. IOM advocates for the integration of migration in climate change policy and for the recognition that migration is not only influenced by climate change, but it can be an important adaptation strategy. Learn more by clicking on the logo. Let's just read that last bit again. And for the recognition that migration is not only influenced by climate change, but that it can be an important adaptation strategy. Interesting, didn't you think? There's some clever words in there saying that you don't have control over your immigration policy. That's what that means. Any country that signs up to this, that's what that means. SDG 15 on life on land is especially important when considering the impacts, both positive and negative, of migration upon local land systems. IOM works alongside the UN Convention to combat desertification, that's UNCCD, in order to address this topic. The UNCCD focuses upon three main areas: climate change adaptation, rights and security, and sustainable development. Now, in closing, I'm going to give you the IOM mission. And next time, or the next time I link to this, I will tell you in detail what the IOM is. IOM is committed to the principle that humane and orderly migration benefits migrants and society. IOM, as the leading international organisation for migration, IOM acts with its partners in the international community to assist in meeting growing operational challenges of migration management, advanced understanding of migration issues, encourage social and economic development through migration, uphold human dignity and well-being of migrants, to provide secure, reliable, flexible and cost-effective services for persons who require international migration assistance, to enhance the humane and orderly management of migration and effective respect for human rights of migrants in accordance with international law, to offer expert advice, research, technical cooperation, operational assistance to states, intergovernmental and non-governmental organisations and other stakeholders, in order to build national capabilities and facilitate international, regional and bilateral cooperation on migrant matters, to contribute to the economic and social development of states through research, dialogue, design and implementation of migration-related programs aimed at maximising migration's benefits, to support states and communities in addressing the challenges of irregular migration, including through research analysis and root causes, sharing information and spreading best practices, as well as facilitating development-focused solutions. To be a primary reference point for migration information, research, best practices, data collection, compatibility and sharing. To promote, facilitate and support regional and global debate and dialogue on migration, including through international dialogue on migration, so as to advance understanding of the opportunities and challenges it presents, the identification and development of effective policies for addressing those challenges, and to identify comprehensive approaches and measures for advancing international cooperation, to assist states to facilitate the integration of migrants in their new environment and to engage diasporas, whatever that means. Diaspora, the scattering of the Jews to countries outside of Palestine after the Babylonian captivity. Another example is the body of Jews living in countries outside of Israel. Or here's another example, another group migration or flight from a country or region. Why can't they just use the real words, including as development partners? to participate in coordinating humanitarian responses in context of interagency arrangements in this field, and to provide migration services in any other emergency or post-crisis situations as appropriate, as relates to the needs of individuals, thereby contributing to their protection. Then for some reason they got a 1 there. I don't know what that means, but anyway. To undertake programs to facilitate the voluntary return and reintegration of refugees, displaced persons and migrants and other individuals in need of international migration services, in cooperation with other relevant international organisations as appropriate, and taking into account the needs and concerns of local communities, to assist states in the development and the delivery of programs, studies and technical expertise on combating migrant smuggling, trafficking in persons, in particular women and children, in a manner consistent with international law, to support the efforts of states in the area of labour migration, in particular short-term movements and the types of circular migration. Now that's very long-winded and I apologise for that, but it's very important. I hope you go and read it better than I read it. But in my understanding of that, the gist of this, any country at all that implements or agrees to or signs up to Agenda 2030 has effectively signed away their rights as a sovereign nation to control their immigration system and to have control of their borders. In other words, to decide who and who may not enter their country, who or who may not stay in their country, who or who may not become a citizen of their country. This document, to any country that signs up for it, is a total game changer, and they know it. Donald Trump knows this. George Soros knows this. Justin Trudeau knows this. Andrew Scheer knows this. That Jungmeet Singh, whatever his name is, knows this in Canada. British politicians know this. Australian politicians know this. Every country who's had anything to do with this document knows this. Even Macron and Angela Merkel knows this. Angela Merkel, whatever her name is. They all know the implications. They all know the implications of this document. Yet they sign their country up to it without explaining to their population what it actually means. They have no right at all to do that without putting that to a referendum. This is not a yes or no situation. That's how serious this is. It fundamentally changes the makeup of your country as you know it and the rules to which you run your country. If you sign up to this, you sign away your rights as an individual, as a citizen of your country, to lead your life the way you chose to lead it. That's how serious this is. In a future podcast, I will give you more details about IOM, quite a little secretive organisation I came across, which the media don't seem to want to talk about. But at the root of all this is a new world order, and at the root of this, and I'm going to keep hammering this until you guys get this, is George Soros. This is communism through the back door. Make no mistake about that. You have Facebook, Google, Twitter, all of these people are promoting this garbage. And in the States, with the presidential election running right now, all the Democratic candidates, bar one, are promoting this garbage. In American terms, this document is unconstitutional. Totally and utter. I'm no lawyer, but it doesn't take a brain surgeon or a lawyer to figure out this document is unconstitutional. In Canada, it is against our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Yet Justin Trudeau and others have signed up to this. They have no right at all. They have to be challenged, and we must do so. If you are in any doubt how much trouble Canada is in and how much it's been sold down the river by one person, namely the current Prime Minister of Canada, 57 genders, Justin Trudeau, then I've got a very short clip I'm going to play to you. And listen to his words very, very carefully. And you will come to the same conclusion. Everything that I've just been talking about is everything is being enacted now, right now, in Canada.
I think one of the things that Canadians can be proud of is that we are showing leadership on one of the important issues around the world, which is migrations and immigration. We are demonstrating that rigorous systems and an open policy actually leads to economic growth and economic advantages and stronger communities, and being able to do this in a way that shows global leadership and, of course, does not impinge upon our own sovereignty is something I think Canadians can be proud of.
You can find more at aradio.wordpress.com, where you can find links to us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Gab, and email. We are also on Spotify. Just go to the podcast section and type Canadian Politics with a twist, and you'll find us. We are continuing to reach out to you, so please pass on the links. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. You can listen to all our morning moments at Spreaker.com under A Radio. That's EHRADIO, A Radio. And please click on the like button. And you can now hear a weekend review of our podcasts on WHBJ DB, News Talk Radio. Join us and many others. And you can find all our podcasts and morning moments at aradio.wordpress.com. Click on the Morning Moments tab.